Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, y bienvenidos. Welcome to Caldo de Risa otra vez. I am your host, Danny Archilla. Sitting next to me is your co-host, Mr. Bryan TV.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing, Bryan?
Good, man.
Boy, oh boy. We sound crisp.
Hell yeah, baby.
We sound real.
Hell yeah, bro. We're
back at it, man. Caldo de Risa, the only Colombian podcast hosted by us two Colombians, Danny and Bryan.
Yeah.
Available on the Binge on this channel network. Isn't that right, Bryan?
Hell yeah, bro. Well, let's get serious.
What are we talking about today, Bryan?
We're talking about some crazy shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll do my little bit of it before you get into what you're doing, because you're the serious part of this.
It's quite.
Let me
quite
get the
dark.
goofs and the guffaws out of the way, bro.
Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's hear it, Bryan.
I think this all started because like 5 months ago or something, I was like telling Danny that I had heard these fucking crazy stories about how fucking Coca Cola had a lawsuit brought to them because they had hand in death squads towards labor leaders in Colombia. And Danny was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, trying to explain it to him. And like he kind of, like a dog on a mail truck, he grabbed onto that fucking bumper and was like, "I gotta know what the fuck is going on here." So today we watched on YouTube a pretty cool documentary about kind of more about what I had talked about. And so Danny did a bunch of research, and so today we're gonna have us a healthier taza of caldo. It's gonna be a little bit more nutritious, because today we're gonna learn about how Coca Cola had labor leaders murdered in cold blood in Colombia. So
Watch out, guys. This taza's hot.
yeah, it's gonna be a hot one, man.
I don't know if it's worth saying trigger warning, but it's. It's a heavier topic, so let's joke about it anyway. Let's get into the reality of the situation. Thank you for that amazing perspective, Bryan. Here's what I gotta say about it. Over the past couple of decades, the Coca Cola Company has been scrutinized by the National Union of Food Workers, otherwise known as Sinal Trinal, for refusing to help or take responsibility or cease the attacks on union leaders that would coincide their jobs with that of the Coca-Cola bottling plants that would be all throughout South America, Colombia in specific. And, as a result of their ignorance, there has been nothing present in the lawsuit as indicating that they're going to take responsibility. Coca-Cola, the company, will not give a damn about what's happening to the local workers that operate, carrying the backs of giants. It's quite sad, honestly. All they're asking for in the lawsuit, which is carried out by two amazing people we're going to talk about in a bit, they just wanted $500 million.
Why are you looking down if we put everything up there?
I know. I'm just trying to figure out how to word this. It's fine. It's tough. But basically, they want compensation. Coca-Cola Company won't give them compensation because they're blaming it on like smaller companies that they have nothing to do with. But the lawsuit itself, it's only possible because they're violating the Alien Tort Claims Act, which reads, "The district courts shall have original jurisdiction of any civil action by an alien for a tort only, committed in violation of the law of nations or a treaty of the United States." So that and the Torture Victims Protection Act, it's stuff that Coca-Cola is clearly choosing to ignore because of a small stipulation in legal mambo jumbo. So it's heady, but I mean, I think we could get through it because there's a happy ending to the story. I haven't told Bryan yet, so good stuff's on the way. How do you feel about this? Are you amped to go and talk about the rights of Colombian workers and how this is a travesty of sorts?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. We'll talk a bit about the documentary that led us down this rabbit hole of chismes, ignorancia, problemas, malatazas.
Problemas. A little Italiano with a Colombian food. Problemas. Mamma mia.
We gotta figure out the Colombian accent. This is ours and Bryan's goal for our new age. I just turned 30. His birthday's coming up. Feliz cumpleaños, mi amigo Bryan. You're one of my best friends, and I'm excited to tackle this with you.
Thanks, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Now, really quickly, I might have to add that the thing between Colombia and Coca Cola doesn't necessarily have to do with cocaine. And I just thought this was a fun little tidbit just to enter the conversation with. But essentially, the only reason cocaine was so prominent in Coca-Cola to begin with was because the founder, who was a Confederate soldier, John Pemberton, after he made the concoction from coca leaves and African cola nuts, he just thought it was all right because dosages of cocaine were much healthier than the big evil of the Prohibition era, alcohol, which is why this was considered perhaps the most perfect of temperance drinks. This Coca-Cola was big because it was fizzy, but it wasn't alcoholic, which leads me to believe, where the hell was root beer at this opportunity? Kind of like a Skype COVID, mishap, really. Anyhow, Coca-Cola, eventually would weed it out, and at its height, it was 5 ounces of cocaine, which is a lot of, blow, right? But eventually Coca-Cola took it out, and nowadays the only thing they use from the coca leaves are not even the actual chemical code for cocaine. In other words, it's just the extracts, the remnants, right? That's what happened, is that they went ahead and they decided to stop using cocaine entirely, use only the extracts, and go through a certain company called the Stepan Company and the Malincroft. They're the only 2 companies in the United States are able to do this sort of process. It's like government contracted. But basically, Stepan extracts the cocaine from the leaves and gives it the extracts of the cocaine to Malincroft, while they give the rest of the material for the soda to Coca-Cola.
Wow.
And Malincroft is the only company, or the only, entity that the U.S. allows, the government allows, to purify the cocaine back into a medicinal use, which I guess is then distributed to hospitals. So it's very wild, honestly. It's still kind of schemy in a way, I think. So just so you guys know, as with many things about Colombia, this has nothing to do with cocaine. That's pretty wild, isn't it, Bryan?
Hey, man, that's pretty crazy stuff. I didn't know that they were still using some of the cocaine leaf extract. And
they have to use the extract, but of course they're not going to use the actual cocaine product. I mean, they make a very big deal, even on their frequently asked questions. We don't use cocaine anymore,
Uh-huh.
It's so crazy. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into exactly what was wrong here. So, there were to be union leaders that would work for various companies in Colombia, that would be like coal mining companies or bottling companies, whatever the sort. There would be unions for those workers that would work under those companies to try to protect their rights. That union is well known as Sinal, which I said before is the National Union of Food Workers in Colombia, right? So 3 of the people that worked as members of these unions, Valmor Locarno Rodriguez, Victor Hugo Orcasita, and Gustavo Soler Mora were 3 instances of workers that actually died, and I've got their murdered,
killed.
They were killed. They were killed by potential entities such as Panamco and Coca Cola FEMSA, maybe even the prominent coal mining company Drummond, which is also a mischievous and evil organization in this case, that they don't want to accept. None of these companies, which were contracted by Coca Cola, want to reveal themselves to be the people that did the crimes. So Sinaltral, as well as the other entities like the United Steelworkers of America, they're going after Coca-Cola because if their kids won't accept responsibility, if their underlings won't accept the responsibility, then Coca-Cola, the company, has to do something, such as compensate the families of these free men brutally murdered, And keep in mind, 2011, that was when Gustavo Soler died, but the documentary, when it was released into theaters, the Coca-Cola case, it only covered really the lawsuits surrounding Victor Hugo Orgasitas and Valmor Locarno. So, but that's their photo right there, and it's sad. How do you feel about knowing this, Brian, that this was something that happened to like people who could have been like, related to us or friends of our families or something?
I don't even think you need to think that they were related to us or friends of our family for you to care. I think it's kind of fucked up that it requires you to think about them like that.
Well, I mean, I'm just
saying. Because I
it,
care about them as just human beings.
They are human beings. The fact that
I'm just
these saying, put it into your shoes.
Why would I? No, see, I'm beyond that, bro. I don't even need to do that. The level of empathy and sadness that I feel for this situation is astronomical, man. Like, it's a heartbreaking situation, man. Because it's like, because we're like kind of Americans, right? Yeah. It's like we live in America, bro, and like no matter what. Oh, sorry, I thought this was gonna be something a little bit more different. We live in America, bro, and it's like, Coca-Cola's an American company, bro. They created Santa Claus, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, it's America, bro. And like these poor motherfuckers in these countries, bro. In the documentary, they were talking about India and how Coca-Cola in India was drinking up all the water in India. And then poor Indian motherfuckers gotta go swim in the Ganges and shit, bro. Because there ain't no water. Because Coca-Cola took it from them. Coca-Cola? My Coca-Cola? My America? Damn. They can keep this city. But in the end, I guess the only thing I feel is sadness. Because I've been betrayed by 2 people in my life. The people of Colombia and their crazy antics when it comes to cocaine. What they did to my people, bro. Damn. They can keep this. No! That's the wrong button! How do you feel, bro? What do you feel?
I feel like I should have empathy for them no matter how they're related to me.
Attaboy!
Anyhow.
I love you, Daddy.
Essentially, it was pretty weird because, like, people wonder why Coke doesn't want to accept responsibility. And their official statement has something to do with... Just the bottling agreement that they've been made that prevents them from changing what they can do in Colombia themselves. Ergo, they have to have babies.
Essentially what they're saying is they subcontract these bottling companies out.
Right.
And whatever's happening between the bottling companies and, their own individual, whatever's going on between the bottling company, Coca Cola can't do anything about it, right? Because they're in Atlanta, right? Like they're just paying these people to handle this stuff.
Yes, I was going to go on a point.
Hit it.
We have to go ahead and just say, like, this is like pretty illegal stuff, so,
Hey, fuck you. I don't care, bro.
We're trying to be
I'm
careful.
taking a stand on this shit, bro. Basically, so they get taken to court, right, in 2001, essentially, with these original fucking court filings. And they're like, hey, they dig up this old act from 200 years ago that essentially says that if America has some type of claim or something in a different faraway land and that place can't do anything within their own jurisdiction, whether it's because their country's corrupt or because there's no way the judicial system's going to give them, recognition or whatever it is, then America has a requirement essentially to provide a platform for those people to be heard. And in Colombia, it's so twisted and fucked up that the Colombians weren't going to get any type of recompense because the government's essentially run by drug lords in the government and corporations, and Coca Cola is one of the biggest corporations in the world. And so it's like they had no they had no other course other than to go through here. So these human activist guys, who help other, and shout out to the human activist people of the fucking world, bro, because I can't even imagine. Like, they didn't make fun of it. I mean, he's kind of an idiot, bro. Because I saw it too when they were like following the dude into his office. And the first thing I clocked when we went into that office was the Che Guevara poster. Like, when we were watching the thing, it followed him in, and as he goes in.
Was that right behind him?
No, it was it was in the fucking, in his crazy room where there was papers everywhere, and it was right there.
I saw Muhammad Ali behind him.
Yeah, no. That was Muhammad Ali. No. There was literally, as you saw him come in, there was fucking Che Guevara.
Of course,
in the fucking
he's
thing.
talking about. We'll have three major players we're talking about.
Yeah,
here,
this
but
guy
Daniel
is Daniel Kovalik.
The other guy, Terry Collingsworth, was also a lawyer. Daniel was a lawyer for the United Steelworkers of America, and Terry Collingsworth was for International Rights Advocates. Both very good men, very good lawyers. And then Ray Rogers was the third guy. He was kind of like the cool old guy behind the corporate campaign movement. He was like the he went on the college campuses. He talked to the students.
Corporate campaigning essentially means like putting a bullseye on certain parts of the corporation that are actually going to be able to dictate change.
Right.
So it's like going in front of like the CEO's house rather than just going in front of their corporate building.
Yeah.
Like writing letters to specific people because you knew that those were the politicians that were going to be able to call up Coca Cola and Nestle and Tesla and go, hey, shitbird, I'm getting 10,000 fucking, letters a day telling me that you guys are murdering fucking hippies in Guam. Fucking stop, pull back.
It's
so
crazy,
that's
man.
kind of with that tactic. He's kind of, the guy who's, coined as being that guy. And so, it's kind of crazy, So these three dudes come together. 2001, between 2001 and 2006, this thing is going on for, essentially a long period of time. Them trying to essentially get Coca-Cola to either, because they can't get them to court, right? That seems to be the big issue here.
No, yeah.
Just the simple act of getting them to come to the table seems to be what they are aiming for.
I should make the point here that some people may confuse this for what happens in the United States, where allegedly they feel like a truck mitigator of like shipping services is responsible for the contractor's fault when a car maybe falls off its trailer and gets scratched. Like, that's not the same thing, They're not responsible for that. They're just the commissioner, the Danny DeVito from Taxi, right? In this case, that rule is totally thrown out the window because, look, there is Coca Cola, there is FEMSA, and then there is Coca-Cola FEMSA. They fucked. And they made Coca Cola FEMSA, which, in addition with Drummond and Panamco.
What are these things? What are you talking about?
Coca Cola FEMSA
The hell is
is
that?
a Mexican-owned company that are the people responsible for overseeing the workers at these bottling plants. So the bottling plants, they would be Coca Cola FEMSAs. Hey, welcome to Coca Cola FEMSA Bogota. This is where we bottle sodas. They're the ones that should have done something. But because they haven't, it has to keep going up and going up and going up until it gets to the big heads back in the USA. So it's like, that's their love child. And by having these contract workers, essentially corporate nepotism, go ahead and carry out the dirty work along with the Mexican bottling service, one of the largest in South America, FEMSA. There's using that and the excuse of the bottling agreement that says they're not allowed to do anything in Colombia, but their offspring and their spouse can. You know, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. They know bad is happening, but it's not something they're going to do about it because they think that they're just not complicit. It's too far. It's not their fault. Sorry. Different jurisdiction.
Yeah, the numbers are fucking nuts, bro. They were saying that Colombia is like the capital of union workers being killed.
It's so sad.
It's
so sad.
It's really nuts. Danny looked up a bunch of shit about it.
Yeah.
There's like 153 dudes who died, nation trade union leaders who died in 2001. That's crazy. That means in 1 year, 153 union leaders got murked, bro. Not only one, crazy numbers for their end to be killing people, but it's crazy that these union people never stopped going. They never stopped.
Yep.
And they are still going, you know, as far as I know, to this day.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
There's probably, out of these three cases that that Sinaltra are making sure are rectified and you know, brought to justice, there's probably many unrecorded instances of violence and even torture
Absolutely.
that are happening.
This is just
behind
recorded
the
shit.
scenes.
Yeah.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
3,800 trade unionists have been killed in Colombia since 1986. Again, crazy fucking numbers. So much so that in 2000, 3 out of every 5 trade unionists killed in the world were Colombian. You have to wrap that around your head, bro. 3 out of every 5 trade unionists killed in the world.
Yeah.
Again, you're talking about something that is going on so often that it's being recorded, bro. Like, regular. There are stats on this shit, like Michael Jordan or fucking Patrick Mahomes. They have stats on this.
To be specific about what happened to the 3 workers, essentially in the spring of 2001, 2 leaders of a union at the U.S.-owned Drummond coal mine named Valmor Laucarno Rodriguez and Victor Hugo Orcasita. They were killed entirely in an incident that was pretty much like heard around the world. Like, it was insane that happened under the watchful eye of so many super duper organizations. It was massively upsetting. And then
this Coke shit.
Gustavo Soler Molar, another leader in the union of that area, he was killed that later in October of 2001. You know, so it's like, it's just so crazy that people are just being disrespected like this.
Disrespected? Why are he's using this crazy language? People are getting murdered, homie.
Yeah.
People are getting straight up murdered. If you're disrespecting life, people are getting murdered. Murdered, bro. This isn't new. This is new shit. It might be new shit to Danny, but this is new shit.
It's
The
definitely
documentary was
not talked about
fucking
enough. Yeah.
sick. I mean, sick in the way of just like, I don't know, some of the choices were a little silly, but it was nice that they actually shone a light on it.
Let's read the synopsis of the Coca Cola case from 2009, directed by Carmen Garcia.
What? Why?
What?
Which one? What?
The synopsis.
Uh-huh.
This is the official synopsis I found from Letterboxd.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like just so we could detail like
Yeah,
what,
yeah, go
what it
for it.
followed. Yeah. Sorry. I can do it in like a voice, or you want?
No, read it. Just read it.
Yeah, I'll do it. All right. 2 lawyers and labor rights activists Daniel Kovalek of the United Steelworkers of America, and Terry Collingsworth of the International Rights Advocates, and their partner, Ray Rogers of the Corporate Campaign, firmly believe that U.S. multinational corporations should be held accountable for the shabby practices of their business associates throughout the world. To lead their battle, they resort to a law dating back to the origin of the American Constitution, the Alien Tort Claims Act, which allows foreigners to file suit in the U.S. against Americans who violate international laws. This film tells the story of their fight against America's most stellar icon, the Coca Cola Company. So that was the movie. It won a special mention in the International Environmental Film Festival in 2010, and it was produced by Argus Films and the National Film Board of Canada. So
they interviewed a lot of the homies. There was a couple of people there that were talking about how they saw the actual stuff go down. And when we, paramilitary, you guys need to understand because some people in America probably don't get it. That level, of what it is. But you're talking about riding a bus that may or may not be owned by the company, either leaving work, going towards work, on your way to work, or on your way to go get groceries or something. And the bus gets stopped, bro, by dudes in camos, probably in a giant Jeep. And everybody's got guns and grenades and pistols and everything. And those dudes get on that bus and they say, "Hey, are you Danny Archella?" You're like, and they're like, "You work at the Coca Cola Company, right?" And you're like, and they're like, "You're the union leader, right?" They're like, "Come off the bus with me." And in America, you might think, okay, I'm about to get arrested. But these people are going to just shoot you right in the middle of the street. And they were interviewing dudes who were there. I think one of the dudes was talking that it was his brother or something like that. It was one of his homies. And he was like, they just took him off the bus, bro, and they just shot him. Just shot him right in front of us, bro. They shot the other dudes too, and then they just let us keep driving home. And they had to run. They had to leave Colombia because they were like, if you stick up or say anything, they're going to kill you, bro. Coca-Cola. This isn't Pablo Escobar, man. This isn't the fucking cartel, dude. You're not talking about fucking coke money, bro. You're not talking about drugs. You're not talking about the gangs. You're not even talking about organized crime, bro. You're talking about corporations, bro. Coca-Cola, dude. American icon, American bloodline, bro. Oh, say, can you see? More like, oh, say, sit down, bro. Coca-Cola. Killing motherfuckers. Hiring other dudes behind each other's backs. Black deal shit. Shaking hands. Kissing babies. That bottle of Coke. That's the shit that killed that man. That's the shit that killed 3,800 people, bro. Union leaders, bro. Over what? Coke? Not even the good Coke. Coca-Cola, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Paramilitary shit, bro. On the spot, Judge Dredd shit. And they interviewed these dudes and they were talking about it. In Colombia. From America. Damn. They can keep this city, bro. It's sad. It's sad.
It's very sad.
So anyways, the documentary, it's like, gayo. So you're like following these dudes, right? And they're like kind of at the end of this thing, right? And subjective. Because here's the thing. Coca-Cola is never going to admit what the fuck they're doing, right? Yeah. We'll put it up, the graphic here. But there was a graffiti that Danny found. It says, "Porque amo la vida, no consumo la Coca-Cola." And then there's a gun in the shape of a bottle that says, "Toma lo bueno." And it's shooting a dude whose head is getting blown out. And then it says, "Implicado en el asesinato de 9 sindicalistas en Colombia," underneath it. Big old graffiti. Goes hard, bro. Coca-Cola, bro. Imagine that, homie. Imagine that, bro. The shit that you're in the movie theaters and you see them commercials with Nicole Kidman on that shit, them. The guys who created Santa Claus, man. The people who run this industry. started by a white man.
I'm just kidding. That has nothing to do with anything.
But look, here's the thing, right? So they're in the middle of the fucking thing, right? And they're close. They're at the end of this whole thing. They're at the end of it, right? They're just trying to get Coca Cola to pay these people the proper amount of money. Coke essentially comes to them, and they're like, look, we'll give you, and like Danny was saying, if you were in America, right, a case like this, you're gonna walk away with $100 million. $50 million, whatever, $80 million. Coca-Cola does some crazy shit like that. Coca-Cola kills someone in your house like that. You know, Coca-Cola's going to pay you out to keep your mouth shut. They're going to pay you $80 million. Shut the fuck up.
A lot of hush money.
Get this shit, bro. And this is on the documentary. Well, actually, prior to this shit, they're in there doing their testimonies in front of people and shit in America, right? It's like the day of the trial or some shit. And the guy's like, really confident. They're showing the shots of fucking the first guy, the SEAL Union guy, Daniel Kovalik. And he's like super hyped, and he's like, we're gonna go in here, bro, and we got him, bro. It's awesome. We got him. Yeah. And he's talking in broken Spanish, and he's like, you know, es bueno. And we're like, yeah, you got him, bro.
A lot of the documentary really hypes up every time they go to court, because this is filmed in real time as these cases are being
the
carried
final
out.
push too, yeah, kind of.
It goes between the people on the ground that are getting affected and the lawyers that are representing them and hoping that they could actually enact change.
And then they go into the fucking courtroom, and the homie's dropping knowledge on him, like, yeah. And then he gets cross-examined by this old country motherfucker who conveniently, if you didn't notice, was a southern motherfucker, probably from Georgia, probably a Georgia senator.
The founder of
looking out for Coca-Cola.
The founder of Coca-Cola was a Confederate.
Of course he was. Yeah, dude, he got stabbed in the chest. Whatever. That's part of it. Let's keep going with this part of it. And so he gets cross-examined by the southern guy, and he's like, we got proof that here's a photo of you standing in front. Like, it was crazy, dude. It was like witch hunt shit. It was nuts. It was nuts. It was nuts. This was not a congressional hearing. This was like, this was a hearing, dude. This wasn't even like, I mean, sure, hearings, whatever. It may not be court. It may not be whatever. I thought it was court. I think it's court. Whatever it was, dude. But they said, they used, which I'm surprised even held up in court, but they were like, we have a photo of you standing in front of Che Guevara, you know, and we are wondering if you have had any association or worked with anyone from Cuba, or if you are a big fan of Che, you know, because this type of stuff, you know, we need to know about, right? Red Scare shit, kind of crazy fucking like nuts commie shit, right? And fucking Daniel Kovalik answers honestly for whatever reason, and he's like, yeah, dude, I fucking dig Che. I'm paraphrasing. He's like, yeah, you know, I admire some of the shit he does. Not everything, but some of the shit that he did, you know, like socialism and shit like that.
Honestly lied. He could have said, oh, I was bringing that out as research for another case or something like that. He
could have lied, but he didn't.
He could have.
He just was like, yeah, whatever. And then he walked away from the thing, and it was like, dude, they made me look like a fool, bro. He was like, I feel foolish, bro. He was like, they discredited me in there, bro. And he was like super sad, and he was like, I gotta go hang out with my family, bro, just because I...
Yeah, he's just a...
Oh, it scared the hell out of me. I thought he was yelling at you. But yeah. So anyways, they're dealing with all of these murders, right? The Colombian Coca Cola company, or whatever you want to call them, the bottling company in Colombia. You know, they've killed all of these people. They have these 3 people on the table that they're essentially going for. And Coca-Cola will only pay out $1 million to be split amongst who knows how many people in this case.
It's the worst deal.
Assume it's 10, 20 people in this case.
And there's this one part of the film where they go ahead and they finally say, hey, guess what? We'll go ahead. We'll take responsibility. We'll admit. But if we give you the money, we also have to make sure each of the defendants of the people,
like everybody in the lawsuit,
they would have to lose their jobs.
They'd have to quit.
You'd have to allow yourself to be terminated.
Yeah.
Or quit the job. And that's just like a right that they should already have to begin with. So it's ridiculous. And
they walk away from the table.
Yeah,
And they're like,
everybody
nah,
says
we're
no
not,
deal.
They're like, no deal, dude. We're not going to take the fucking money just so that you guys can fucking...
The point isn't for people to stop drinking Coca Cola. The point is for the company, the organization behind these drinks, to go ahead
behind these
and
acknowledge.
be like, we acknowledge this happened on our watch. We're sorry.
Yeah.
We're going to remedy this.
Yeah, and we're going to do a
this
better
is
job.
Unacceptable. We apologize. They won't do it.
And they couldn't do it.
So that's why people want to boycott Coca Cola.
They couldn't do it. Oh, wow. Okay, so there was a part in the thing where Ray Rogers goes to a fucking school.
Goes to a university.
A university in Chicago, bro, to go and talk to these fucking kids. And, and he goes to these fucking kids, and, there are these kids who are like pro what he's doing. They're like down with Coke. Coke is bad, you know, like you shouldn't be fucking like killing people, like that's fucked up. And then there's the other side of all these people, bro, and they're like pro Coke, pro the free market. One dude was like, I mean, if fucking people have to die for the free market to live, like that's just part of it, man. Like it is what it is. Like I kind of felt like he was doing it ironically.
It was so weird, man. Honestly, it was like,
it felt like a skit. I thought it was a skit.
It was like backing the red in a weird way.
And like there were other people there. They were like, you know, it was crazy. Listen, they were on a college campus, bro. Like pro Coke, like trying to support what? Trying to support what? Why were you out there? The only reason you were out there, why? Like as a joke? Like as a joke to be like, go Coke? Why? Why? You hear...
Does someone hate
you hear
studying
people
biometrics so bad that they have to skip class as part of their basic student right to participate in non-violent strikes and
you hear
protests? Like, what the fuck?
Hey, Danny, did you hear about that anti-Coke protest that's happening on fucking campus? Oh no, what's going on? I don't know, man. I guess they're accusing Coke of having killed a bunch of people. No way, dude. Not my Coke.
No, man. Have you?
I love Coke.
Yeah. Well, have you seen that flyer, that big old one from Coke, killercoke.org, where they have a Coke float, but it's a Colombian Coke float, and it's got a bunch of bodies floating in the middle, and it says unthinkable, undrinkable campaign to stop Killer Coke. Have you seen it?
I sure did, John Travolta. And like, I just can't imagine it. Just as a kid, what are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking? What is driving you to go on campus? They were on campus with signs that were like...
Fuck human rights.
Not even the fuck human right
well,
one. That
one
was a
pretty
joke.
bad.
Like, there were actual kids out there not as a joke. And like, there were kids in the assembly when they were talking to Ray Rogers, and there were people standing in line, and they were like, if you... he was like... What did the first guy say? He was like, people are driven by incentive. Like, people are, and if those people are working for $3 a day or something, I mean, it's not great, but, it's better than what they would have been working for. And, and he was like, oh, fuck, I wanted to punch him so bad. I wanted to,
that guy with the glasses.
Hit him.
The guy with the glasses, he
I
had
just
like
wanted to hit
hair.
him. He was being such a little shit, and he was like, what drives you? Like, what, like, I wish there was a way we can...
Do you want to find it?
Pull it up real quick, we'll layer it on top. And if this kid comes and finds me, I'll give him my address and I'll just beat the shit out of him. I don't care. I hated him, dude. It was, bro.
I'm sure his company doesn't know at all that this is something that.
I'm telling you, it was like and like another kid was like, the smugness of these children, the smug satisfaction from these little kids, as if they.
The sad thing about Ray Rogers is that, like, he was able to, like, infiltrate the campus and go ahead and, like, speak to these students. But at the same time, when he was there and Coca Cola had an opportunity to speak, they had to have him leave the premises before Coca Cola representatives could.
Yeah, the rest were like, "Nah,
and
we're
not
not
even
gonna do
the
it on
documentary was able to be like.
Back it up.
We were able to get maybe barely a sliver of that. And this guy was crappy too.
Yeah, that guy sucked too. This guy right here.
This?
All right, hold on.
Hold on a second. All right.
Yeah.
Make sure it's full HQ.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, that's not going to matter because I'm going to put a full HQ version of it on there. I'm just looking at the time stamp. I'm saying it. It's 57:25. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
They have a choice to work for Coke or not to work for Coke. And though you think that their jobs are shitty as hell, it's still better than the alternative.
Felix, if you have a question, ask it. Otherwise,
It's coming.
sit down.
It's coming.
Look,
So, hold on.
I know where you're coming from.
So
what
they
a
respond
shit.
to incentives, just like you respond to incentives. How do you make your money? How does Killer Coke make its money? You're a sham. It's a disgrace to have someone, one, who has never taken
Felix,
an
please
econ
sit
course
down.
come here and lecture us.
Presents nothing. Presents nothing. Literally says nothing. Says
In
nothing.
April of this year, the ILO issued a report on their conclusions into the investigation
this
of union
fucking
killings in Colombia. They found that the union killings could be traced directly to the president's office. Given that that Coca Cola cannot execute regime change in Colombia, and the ILO has fingered the president of Colombia for killing
practiced all
union
day in the
activists
mirror
in
and still
Colombia,
fucked up.
what are we even doing here?
Oh, I think that's a great question. Actually, we made a good point for me here. What we've stated in our campaign.
Yeah, nobody
is how the
applauds, nobody
Colombian
said anything. Okay,
government
you can stop
and
it.
The secret.
Yeah, I mean, it's retarded. These kids are retarded.
Yeah, that last kid especially didn't have a good answer because essentially his answer was the answer. His question was the answer to the question.
He's a retard.
Which is basically nobody gives a fuck about these workers, and even the Colombian government, to a degree, is in on this.
Like, we have answers. We know it. It's like the president is part of this.
It's not
the
about.
Colombian
It's not about.
president.
It's not about proving it right to the Colombian
Yeah.
government because they're too fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they're
They're already
they're on a
up
bench.
Shit's Creek.
It's that they need to rectify what should have been compensated for the families of the victims and those who have died
Yeah.
under the watch of Coca Cola, and they're in this case they're bottling
And it needs to stop.
subsidies.
And they want it to stop, and it just won't stop. It won't stop because Coca-Cola, it makes too much money from it. You know, in India, they mentioned all these other places. They mentioned places that are getting destroyed by this giant corporation because they don't care. It doesn't matter. And it won't matter. You know, none of this will matter until...
It's about getting justice for the families.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. So it's like... Yeah, so the documentary goes all the way through this thing, right? And then they go to the very end, and they, again, like Danny said, they get to the very end of the whole thing, and they walk away from it because they're like, we're not going to quit our jobs. Like, that's fucking jacked up, bro, you know? And so the guys are like, well, you know, Kovalik is kind of, my guess is at that point he kind of bows out. But then Terry Collingsworth comes back, it says like 6 months later.
Yeah.
And Collingsworth is like, you know, we gave up too. Just being honest here. I mean, this is the real sad, honest fact about it. It's like, they hit a wall, you know, they hit a wall, and unfortunately they couldn't go any further.
Or have they?
You know.
Or have they? From my research, Brian,
Uh-huh.
there's a bit of an interesting update.
Let's see.
Throughout the years, there's been plenty of articles written about this, but not plenty, like hundreds or thousands. No, in comparison to Donald Trump and COVID and Black Lives Matter, all the major problems of the past couple of years, nobody's talked about the fact that Drummond, the company that would allow for these killings to be happening under Coca-Cola's watch in the first place, is in deep shit. They're in big trouble. According to Terry Collingsworth firm, the International Rights Advocates, the very one that was half of the representation for the Sinaltria, you know, Drummond has been charged via their president, Jose Miguel Linares, and the past president, Augusto Jimenez, for their role in Drummond's funding of the AUC's crimes against humanity. Once these two, this happened as recently as December 16th of 2020. Once these two key participants are imprisoned for their roles in financing the horrible acts of the AUC, it will be impossible for Drummond's frivolous cases to proceed against Terry and his colleagues. Also, this will allow for a revival of all the human rights cases against Drummond. Justice is coming for Drummond. It's incredible. It's incredible because this means that they basically were able to find out what happened. Basically, First of all, Terry Collingsworth, I don't think the documentary talks enough about him. There were some great parts about the documentary, and then also some things where I was like, I want to see more of this information or that information, Like, some things couldn't be helped, like the information about Coca Cola as a company, because they were very aversive. We maybe see 2 representatives from Coca Cola, not to mention the speaker for them, throughout the whole 86 minutes. It's insane. But from what I know, Terry Collingsworth, working for the International Rights Advocates, has been so experienced, as Brian has said before, in leading the charge against big corporations such as Nestle, Mars, Chiquita Bananas, Hershey Chocolates, Tesla. And as he has been instrumental with making sure the families are brought to justice, so too did he discover that the Drummond Company, major purveyors behind both the Chiquita and the Coca-Cola
So is Drummond
cases.
the one who's doing all the Coca-Cola stuff? That's who they're saying
The
did
people,
all the
people working for Drummond.
It's the people to Drummond is what it is.
Yeah, because
Coca-Cola's like, it's not us.
It's so detached. Not even the
so
attachments
Drummond
of
was in
Coca-Cola.
charge of the Coca-Cola place?
Yeah, well,
Or
Drummond
through backups
Drummond
or
was
whatever?
helping the paramilitary
Okay,
group,
now I get
the
you.
United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, the
for sure.
AUC, to go ahead and initiate killings. In 2001, they committed crimes against humanity and extrajudicial killings, amongst other crimes. Drummond's part was that they would engage in a systematic cover-up to hide those crimes, including bribery, and numerous threats to witnesses that saw all the criminal acts Drummond did in association with the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia. Their senior executives used political power and their significant resources, as well as expertise at operating within the corrupt climate of Colombia, to avoid accountability. So that's essentially what the epilogue is that because of this fact, like I said before, similar to what happened with the Chiquita Bananas, there might be a case against Drummond, and therefore they can go ahead and have to pay up those $500 million for the families, potentially,
No, obviously, don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I mean, these things take years.
But it doesn't seem like the fight's ever going to stop, bro. And unfortunately, because of the way Colombia's system is set up, it's not going to be Colombian people who always get the opportunity to do it. So it's good to know that even though America is technically responsible for what's going on, there are good people out there like Terry Collingsworth and fucking what's his name, fucking Ray Rogers and fucking the rest of those fucking
Daniel
mooks.
Kovalek and all of them. But
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
more about Terry Collingsworth. His process was documented on Reddit, and he mentioned that yes, they even have to use undercover researchers to get information on the ground where the events are occurring, and that's something I really quickly wanted to bring up because a lot of this documentary. Not only are Daniel and Terry and Ray in trouble, the actual filming crew themselves are somewhat criticized. Like, there's that one scene where the 2 Colombian Coke drivers...
Danny's words are weird. Criticized, I wouldn't say. The guy was like a security guard for the Coca Cola plant that they were interviewing these kids at or whatever. Now, I don't know. Maybe you do have something about it because...
I'm saying undercover researchers. They had to carry in cameras, surely. So that's how they were able to infiltrate. And there was that one scene that was so crazy. You remember
Yeah,
that?
like they were talking to these kids, and the kids were talking to them about this stuff, and then a dude on a motorcycle came up, and he was like, what are you guys doing, and who are you talking to? And they were like, oh, we're talking to this documentary crew. They were like, where are they from? And they were like, they're Canadian. And so the guy comes over off of his motorcycle, and he's like, hey, I'm security for Coca Cola. Now, here's a couple of things. It didn't look like they were on the Coca Cola plant at all. It looked like they had just walked up to in front of some kids that were sitting in front of a grocery store or something and started interviewing them. So I don't know what the fuck Coca Cola's talking about. So he was wearing a vest too with numbers on it, and he was riding a motorcycle. And this, I hate to be a guy who characterizes things, but you don't really ride a motorcycle around unless you're fucking a person, unless you're paramilitary or fucking cartel member, and like that's fast getaway shit. That's how Escobar killed a lot of the people, was on fucking motorcycles. So it's like, I don't know. He said that he was like a security guard for Coca Cola, but I don't know. His whole story was fucking weird. So it was like he definitely came and he checked on them and checked their IDs and stuff. Like, and again, this isn't America, man. they're not showing you identification. They're not doing anything. This dude probably had a gun on him, and like it looked like he had a strap on him. And he just like asked them for their credentials, and they had to give him over, and he just went away. And like, yeah, nuts. It was nuts.
It's a crazy film. The parts where like you see Daniel Kovalek, another important figure from the United States Steelworkers of America, like he also was like very passionate, and he was on the ground. He was like, you know, joining the workers. He was like talking to them. He was trying to get all the information he could. He was a very boots on the ground lawyer, and there were moments where I thought he would be in trouble as well. You know, him and Ray Rogers. It was crazy. I will say about Daniel Kovalek, that thing about Che Guevara wasn't like the only controversy he had. I did some research. Apparently, he's defended both the Russian government in their infiltration of Ukraine and the Venezuelan government, you know, in support of their ideas, even if he did publish a book about the Palestinian side of the Middle East conflict and how he empathizes with them. It's very unusual.
He might be a commie, you know?
We don't know, man. I mean,
but here's the honest truth, man. Sometimes it takes all kinds.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about where you're from or what the color of your skin is or even what your ideology is. Sometimes it's just about being a good person. You know? Because the real honest truth is, if you were shot right now and the only person who could save you was a Nazi surgeon who found it in his heart to not kill me or you and saved your life as a Nazi, damn, you can keep this city.
Yeah, Coca's got its more than its fingers sticky in this case. I do think my takeaway from this is that it's horrific that this happened at all. And I am just personally very sad that it happened in Colombia, because it's like, wow, like hardworking people that I know personally, perhaps, and just the decency of human life in general just taken away. You know, their families are not going to be able to see these men and women again, you know? So it's...
Yeah, most recently, man, you're talking about like, you know, oh, Jesus Christ. You're talking about like...
2015.
Yeah, I mean, even in 2015, brother, like, you know, Coke is still getting their fingers sticky, bro. You know, over 100 people killed, you know, in between 2011 and, let's assume, you know, last year. So
Present
over 10
day.
years.
Yeah.
Present day. You know, America's obviously trying to do stuff. You know, they have this Colombian free trade agreement, which is like a labor action plan between the U.S. and Colombia. But you know, what are you gonna do, man? You can't do nothing, bro. Really. They have too many jobs. They're too big. They supply too much. I mean, what is it? Danny found out. It says 313.7 million drinkers are wait. Colombia made up 47.1 million.
It's one of the most popular soft drinks
15%
in Latin America.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
soft drinks in Latin America. You know, Colombia drinks that. So
I was mentioning 2015 because in an article I found online, there were thugs on June 25th of 2015 who killed the retired Coca Cola worker Wilmer Enrique Giraldo. He had been injured from work, was forced from his job, received death threats, and fled to Medellin, only to be killed. You know what's crazy, too? Is that his dad also worked for Coca Cola. Luis Enrique Giraldo Arango. His father worked for Coca Cola and also belonged to the union, the Union for Food Workers, Sinal. And they killed him in 1994. Paramilitary forces killed Luis Enrique Giraldo and Wilmer Enrique Giraldo, his son, father and son, within a span of almost 20 years apart. It was crazy. It's unacceptable. It's embarrassing. And I would hope that there could be more concentrated efforts to bring this back into the forefront. As recently as 2010, Montreal's organization Cinema Politica was going to throw a screening of the Coca Cola case, which you can find it on YouTube. It's a very good watch. We recommend it. And yet, Coca Cola themselves highly encouraged them to reconsider because they wouldn't allow that sort of thing. Carrie Kerr, a spokesperson from Coca Cola, went ahead and said the following: "The unfounded allegations made in the documentary have been reviewed by multiple courts in Colombia and the United States, as well as the International Labor Organization and outside law firms, all concluding that the Coca Cola bottler company's employees in Colombia enjoy extensive normal relations with multiple unions and are provided with safe working conditions there." But it's not the case, and that's still a point that they're maintaining to this day, which is why they're going after Drummond, because they're the most directly responsible for this terrible tragedy of
Continuing
worker
tragedy.
and company. Yeah,
Well,
a loss all around.
you know what, ladies and gentlemen? This has been a particularly long episode, but I think it's one worth having because, this is happening. And,
Yeah.
will I stop drinking Coke? I don't know.
You can go to killercoke.org to learn more about these efforts, and I think they updated the site as recently as 2022. So, they're still at the fight, and we support that.
Yeah, we support that 100%, man, because it's crazy. It's crazy that it isn't talked about more, and it's crazy that it's still just happening. So, I don't know. I hope that you, as the listener, go out and maybe look into this a little bit more. Again, that's killercoke.org. Yeah. Good job, Danny.
Great episode, Brian. Had a good time.
I was thinking maybe you could I don't know. Would you be down to sing a song for everybody who lost their lives in this?
Yeah, we can do
A
that.
little something.
We can do that.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. You can find us at bingeonthischannel.com. Also on Instagram at Binge on This Channel. You can find us at Caldo de Risa on Instagram as well. That's Caldo de Risa Podcast. Danny, where can they find you?
You can find me at Archilla on Instagram, and you can search up titmag.com. Updates coming soon.
You can find me at @thereal_Bryan TV. And I hope you know that we're a little sorry for what Coca Cola did to you, Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Danny wrote this song.
Yeah. Oh, we here are feeling sad, sullen. We've got to remember people from September 11. But while we remember those folks that have died, we've got to remember others from the other side. Coca-Cola, they did Colombia wrong, and now we have this song to talk about the deaths of Colombian men and women. All of these names I am saying, they are not living. They are dead. They are gone. We cannot sing this song without remembering these names from Colombia.
Avelino, Achicano.
José Eleazar Manco David,
Luis Enrique Giraldo Arranco.
Luis Enrique Gómez Granado,
Isidro Segundo Gil Carrepa.
José Librado Herrera Osorio,
Oscar Dario Soto Polo.
Adolfo de Jesús Munera López,
Ricardo Ramón Pablo Gómez. And these are some of the names of the men and women killed.
Víctor Hugo Hugo Orcasitas.
For the Coca-Cola Company.
Valmont Locarno.
Yeah, they did it. They hired the drum and mining
Gustavo
company.
Soler.
Al que no le gusta el caldo,
Se le dan 3 tazas. All right. We'll see you guys again. Have a good night.